My daughter has become something I can't even recognize. Already with 2 kids at 23, with an idiot of a boyfriend. And when I travel back home and see my brother's kids, we have doctors, we have lawyers, I cry. Don't ever say you are here for your kids. The best you can give to your kids is good values, not UK passport. My father used to tell me to find money and come back home 30 years ago. I'm sorry, Daddy. R.I.P. And making sacrifices for your kids, especially when you're an immigrant abroad, could go either ways. I'm talking now as an African immigrant. And I really like to generalize this because a lot of us have the same values wherever you come from. Be you Ghanaian, be you Nigerian, be you Cameroonian, South African, Kenyan, Ugandan, Tanzanian, wherever. We have the same sort of upbringing where we value respect. We have a different idea of family, friends, and life. We know what is important. And we have always been told that education is at the forefront of success. I know as well that giving them the best in life doesn't necessarily have to be abroad. You can give your kids the best stats in life back home. Because not only do they have a solid education, they also have the extra upbringing that this society can never give them. This is a topic that I am responding to a comment from one of my videos where a lady, and I'll read her comment in due course, she talked about the fact that we sacrifice. Why when you have kids, it's a lot harder to go back. And she kind of agreed, but she said, even the kids that we think that we are sacrificing for, it is a mistake because these kids turn out to be failures in essence. And I'll go into the specifics of what drove her to say this because I think her kids have gone completely the other way around and she has a lot of regrets. So when I talk about being stuck when you start having kids, it's not really just because we feel like we're giving them the best, because I will always talk about myself and a lot of us who come from the same cloth. When I say this is we had the training, we had our maybe O levels, our high schools, our primary schools, those formative years back in our home countries, and maybe came here in our early 20s where you're discovering life, maybe for our first degrees or our postgrads, and we already had that foundation. When we have kids here, it doesn't really mean that we stay because we want to give them the best, but because it's harder to make those reverse decisions when they're already in school. The best way to avoid this is once you start having kids, if you plan to go back, is you can do what a lot of our parents did, or what people are still doing nowadays, is they'll have the kids maybe for the convenience, maybe when they start primary school, maybe in the 5, they go to year 1, they're sent back home. If you have relatives that you can trust, or if like a couple, you're ready to make sacrifices to live apart for say 10 years, and they go back, they go to the primary school education, maybe part of the secondary school education, they can come here for holidays, and then they go back. That just means that that is home, and they get to learn the values, the basics, the respects, the foundations that we know is important to bring kids up. I'm going to tell you a story before I read this lady's comments, and this is it really breaks my heart to say this, but it's not unique. This story I'm sharing is not unique, but it's somebody I personally know. She had her son who was doing very well. He had one of the best results, O-level results in Cameroon, and she brought him here when he was in high school, when he was about to start college, what we call high school back home. And he was an A-star student. He had a score, in fact, he was the best in his year. Very respectful. I saw him a few times and he could not even look me in the eye and say, "Good afternoon, auntie." She had remarried because she had him when she was younger. This boy came here 17. She had already built a different life with a new partner, a Caucasian British, who she had 2 kids, and things were going okay. She never really had the experience of growing up with her child. He became a stranger, and she thought she'd done the best to bring him here later, where he'd already formed these core values, respect, and he'd already done most of his education, so he had to just come and spend 2 years in college and get to university. He had plans, I think, to go into medicine, and there was no limit to his abilities. Unfortunately, he got himself entangled with the wrong friends. And that is why I always advise people that I'd rather live in the absolute worst house in the best street, because what we pay for is your postcode if you're in the UK or anywhere else in the world. And I think the more Africans realize this and break free of this, you can do all you can at home, but when they step out of the door, who do they talk to? Who do they mix with? Who do they listen to? Who do they form relationships with? The people who don't have the same core values like you and me, and they find themselves with the wrong crowds, and all of your hard work at home or in Africa or wherever goes down the drain. So I fully accept what this lady said, because this particular boy came and after a few months noticed a difference. He'll raise his voice at his mom, and he kept asking for some ridiculous things, because the kids where they lived were from homes where parents would often reward the kids with material things to show love. And it's just a way for an easy life. I want an Xbox, they give. I want this new phone, they give. I want this PS5, they give. But they live in, government houses. Their parents are not as ambitious as we are. This lady was working very hard like a nurse. Her partner really had the same mentality, because they had a cultural clash, I'll say. And whenever this young boy came, he was given everything. And there was once he asked for, I think, a new game, a PS5 or some new device, which was so expensive. And the mom said no. Before this, they had seen signs of him going completely losing it, being rude, shouting, cursing, and it was a very quick change. She could not believe that this boy, who was, a stellar student, all around, behavioral, everything, suddenly was acting strange. I think she had conversations, and he overheard her saying, "I'll send him back." He went and was first to report that he's not going back because his mom is planning to get rid of him. And he said he wanted to leave home. That was the beginning of the end. And unfortunately, it's not a happy ending. A few days later, this particular incident escalated, and unfortunately, he pushed her down the stairs, and she had a miscarriage. And at that point, he was taken into care custody because he was a big boy, and the rest is history in a very bad way. If this child, the two things here, he was living an okay life. He came here before he could actually not succumb to peer pressure. He came a bit too fragile in terms of age. I think he was 17. So he had not really formed that sort of confidence. Like, I'll give myself, I came at 21, and I felt like I had gone past all the peer pressures that I'll have to do anything silly. I'd already formed my personality. I knew what was right and wrong, and I came into uni. But people come younger and they just live in the wrong area, they mix with the wrong people, and that's it. So when we talk about wanting to stay here, it's not really because we think that the kids are having the best life, because if you live here, or if you have a good career, you can put your kids in okay schools, actually private schools, that you cannot even try to pay here. So back home, they're having the best of both worlds. So for me, the sweet spot for kids is you can have them here, or if you come like adults, let them spend their secondary and tertiary education and come when they're a lot more mature, when they can remember where home is, if you decide to move back. Because when they come like youngsters, this is home for them. And when we get stuck, it's not really because, for me, for example, and I'll share, I always say that everybody's circumstance is different. Our circumstance was very unique for most people, because we sent him back home when he was 2, and he spent a few months for me to get my head around things. And I just missed him, and I had settled, and I brought him back because I was having more kids. But our circumstances became different because he got into football, and it was so hard to justify taking me out of that situation and going back home because he had things like scholarships and all that. I'll say this, that the entanglement can come from many things. Children nowadays are very talented. A lot of African kids are getting into arts, drama, music, singing, all sorts of sports, tennis, running, athletes, boxing, football, and this just keeps you trapped. And before you know it, they're 20 years old and you are now in your 50s or 60s and you're thinking, what just happened? So, and that's what I was talking about. Let me read this comment. And she said the worst thing is most of the kids we sacrifice for don't even make any better lives. Just a few become better. Most of them just turn to rappers and smokers. There is no mistake in this, because to add to this point, social media and just the way there's this get rich quick scheme where most kids feel like hard work and education doesn't matter anymore. They want to go to reality programs, they want to have OnlyFans, they want to make money by dodgy means, they all want to make money in the showbiz, they all want to be entertainers. They forget that not everybody will make that cut, and they just end up smoking. And today, my son doesn't want to work. He wants to play basketball and he's almost 30. This is sad. And there's nothing wrong with sports. I've always said that enhance your kids' talents. But as a 30-year-old, I think that there is a point where you know that you've probably missed your prime. But it's just a situation where they become lazy, they become so entitled, and they feel like the system will save them, so they don't have the fight that we do. And my daughter has become something I can't even recognize. Already with 2 kids at 23, with an idiot of a boyfriend. And when I travel back home and see my brother's kids, we have doctors, we have lawyers, I cry. I don't ever say you are here for your kids. She said, don't ever say you are here for your kids. Don't ever say that. The best you can give to your kids is good values, not UK passports. I love this comment. And honestly, sister, I don't know who you are, but this comment, I took a screenshot and I said I'll do a video about it because I feel your pain. I do. But also, this same scenario can happen with kids back home. Not to take away the facts that you're putting out, but also in places where there's destitute, there's no hope. People are living miserable. We have kids who become street kids as well because there's no hope. So I don't think that your geographical location matters. And I shared this in a previous video about the values. If you've not watched that video about not to be stuck abroad, I'll pin that here. It's talking about the values of what, why, if, and how you can move back. I talked about having the values because you can instill these values wherever you are. The environment plays at least 60% to who they become, but you can try your best. And a lot of this is sometimes luck, like it or not. Although back home you can have a bit more slaps to reawaken this madness. Anyway, she said, the destiny of the kids are not in our hands. My father used to tell me to find money and come back home 30 years ago, and I didn't listen. I stayed here because of my kids, and today I regret it because these kids are no better. I'm sorry, Daddy. R.I.P. And I'll try to pin the comments. And this was so touching. If you're the one who left this comment, I'm really, really sorry about how things have turned out. And we always say that we bring our kids into this world, we don't make their hearts. We can only try. And giving them a UK or a US passport is not the be-all and the end-all. It's what we instill in them and the values that they can take. Because whether we like it or not, kids in this part of the world still have a lot to learn about respect, values, love, and what is important. This was just a video that I decided to film, and I'll be responding to a lot of comments like this because I have a lot of them that I feel like I need to beef up. I need to shed light on, share my opinion. And like always, this is Lulu. If this is the first time that you've seen one of my videos, hi, this is Lulu Diaries, where I share my opinion on things that I have learned living as a 40-year-old abroad in the UK as an African immigrant who I feel I have made mistakes and I could learn from them. So if you found this video helpful, please give us a like. Join our community, which is growing. And I thank you guys for all the support. I don't take you guys for granted. Thank you very much. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye. Bye.